Virtual Vanguard Productions. Welcome to Cooking in the Dark, connecting communities through yummy food. Well, I'm blind and often am cooking in the dark. Most folks I know cook in the dark because they don't know where their food comes from. This show is dedicated to shedding light on the people and the places where our food is produced, right here in Colorado. We're going to change the way you think about food, one bite at a time. Welcome to Cooking in the Dark. I'm your host, Claudia Folska, and today we are with Amanda Weaver at the Five Fridges Farm, an urban farm located in Wheat Ridge, Colorado. So Amanda, this is really sort of an extension of all of your academic research at the University of Colorado, Denver. And I know that you've talked a little bit about it being more like an extension of your laboratory where you bring students in and you study a lot of different things and you have this incredible kitchen. And I'm so excited and thankful that we get to be here cooking with you today. And we're going to be making tempura fried squash blossoms stuffed with your very own homemade goat cheese from the goats on your farm right here. And we have lots of fun experience with your goats. And believe me, lots of fun. And with your homemade goat cheese, and we're gonna stuff them into the tempura fried squash blossoms. Actually, we're gonna, put the tempura and then stuff them and then fry them. Does that sound fun?
That sounds awesome.
Okay, so the other thing I was kind of wondering if you'd be willing to do this is wear a blindfold so that you could spend a little bit of time in my world preparing this unique, yummy, and really exciting exotic dish.
I'm excited to try. I'm a little scared. I'm excited to try.
Okay, now I'm going to give you your blindfold.
Okay.
And you can just put it on. Let's see how you like it. It's never been worn before.
Okay. How's that?
I think it looks great. You're fabulous, and you're a great sport for doing it. Okay, so would you tell me about the herbs again?
So this feels like savory, and of course, yeah, it smells like savory. And you know what? My senses are just opening up right now. I smell mint in there as well as rosemary.
Okay.
That's what savory sort of is to me. And then this was the thyme. And that I can tell from the really tiny leaves.
Right.
But of course it's...
And they're tight together.
Yep. And then oregano has kind of a soft leaf, kind of fuzzy. And what else do we have here? I have to remember what this is. I'll have to smell. Oh, marjoram, my favorite. And then, of course, the sage, and the sage has literally fuzzy leaves.
Yeah.
They're just soft.
And they're long, right?
They're long.
Sort of like from a tulip plant or something.
Yep. Yeah. Well, and I have a lot of people ask me, because I think squash flowers are new to a lot of people, and they have such a delicate taste. Let's start with the milk, and because we have to heat up the milk. So I can chop while that milk is heating.
Okay, so what are the proportions? We're gonna have how much milk that comes to a boil and how much vinegar, and what kind of vinegar? Is it white vinegar, cider vinegar? Does it matter?
I have played around with just about every kind of vinegar, and because it's actually chemically changing, it doesn't matter what kind of vinegar. It doesn't matter what color vinegar, though I have not used balsamic. I would imagine that would make a pink cheese, but But we're just going to be using plain old apple cider vinegar
Okay.
today.
Okay.
And
So if
it's
we
about
have-
a cup for every gallon of milk.
Oh, okay.
And you can do this with any kind of milk. You can actually do it with pasteurized milk as well. We'll be using raw milk from the farm today, which is a little bit easier in cheese making.
Okay. Well, come on over this way, Amanda, with your milk. And this is the last bit of milk. Find the table and follow the edge.
Just going to ask if you had some tips for me.
Yeah, that was it. Okay, you're doing great. Look at you. Okay, set it right in front of you.
Okay.
Okay, so what do we have?
Oh my gosh. So this is actually about a gallon and a half. So these are all half-gallon jugs.
Okay.
I think one of them is a little less full, just because we're going to be cooking a lot today. So I thought it'd be nice to make a little bit extra. So that means we'll put in a cup and a half of vinegar when it finally gets to temperature. So
Right.
the key thing for right now is we're just heating milk. That's all we're doing. You don't put anything in the water.
Okay, and so you add the vinegar after it gets to be
After it gets hot
160 degrees.
Exactly.
Okay.
Well, this is probably one of the oldest recipes for cheese in the world. So basically, we're going to make a very, very basic homemade farmer's cheese, which is a non-melting cheese because it's not aged, and I'm not using a rennet to break the curds and whey. I'm just going to use a vinegar. And when you make cheese, you're using some sort of acid-based thing to break it's a chemical change to break the fat into the curds, and then the liquid that's left over is whey. What's happening, it should be breaking into a clear liquid called whey, and then chunks called curd. Okay.
It smells good though.
So the vinegar should be throughout, and we're going to let that sit before we drain it.
Okay. So this is sort of like, I mean, I can feel it. It's a veil. It is so funny. Okay.
So we've got a pail, and I just happen to have a lot of milking pails around here, but you could use a big bowl. And it's going to drain off the whey, and then I just have a regular colander underneath there. And then here's my wedding veil.
Yeah.
It's not really my wedding veil. Or my mosquito net.
Yeah, okay. This is from Costa Rica.
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
And so now it's still pretty hot in here, but if you want to, you can kind of feel how there's chunks in there. It's still pretty hot, so be careful with your finger.
Oh yeah.
But you can feel that there's sort of two substances, liquid and solid. And so what I'm doing is I'm just taking a cup measure, and I'm going to pour it into that drain. And really, if you could just make sure the tool is all the way around the drain, so we're not losing any.
Okay.
And that whey, I actually save some to the side, but I just take the whey out to the chickens.
Oh, okay. And then you must have really yummy eggs.
Yep,
right?
or I could bake it into bread, but it's the same whey protein that people put in their smoothies in the morning.
And then we'll let this sit for a while.
Yep, we'll let it sit until the liquid has really drained out of it.
Okay, and that liquid is what becomes the cheese. When you
No, the solid is what becomes the cheese. The stuff in the tool.
Okay, is the cheese.
Yep.
I get it, okay.
So we'll go back to squash.
Squash blossoms for you.
Yeah, we're de-stemming all of this stuff, so we're going to just take the leaves off.
Okay, Amanda, I have the oil set really to fry, to deep fry like calamari. You only throw them in there for 1 minute.
Yep.
And you want the oil to be 355 degrees. So what I'm going to do is take the entire squash blossom and just scoop it through, like dunking it in the tempura batter.
Yeah.
Then I'm gonna toss it in one by one.
Okay.
Okay.
And I've got another one to hand you.
Okay, so I'm gonna do that. I'm throwing it in there now. Here we go. And this is the first one. It might be a sacrificial one, but bam. Back up. Okay, nice sizzle, huh?
Yeah, that's nice.
Okay, I'll take the other one.
Okay.
Okay. This is like really fun, huh? And I love the sound of it.
This is exciting. Notice I'm standing back.
I know. Like, it's like making basketball hoops, you know? Okay, here, I'm gonna bring it out. Oh, that sounds better. Okay, one more. You can tell, like, I'm a bit of a novice at this, right? Before we sit down and take a bite, do me a favor, take off your blindfold and tell me what it looks like.
Oh, they're beautiful.
Really?
They're gorgeous, yeah.
You're not just saying that.
No, you can tell the shape of the flour.
Uh-huh.
Cheese sort of oozing out of a few of them, and they're just crispy and yummy.
Okay, you ready to try one?
Yeah, let me grab one. This looks
And I love
so
how you
good.
salted these.
Yeah, well, I just used the kosher salt, like you said.
Yeah.
Do you want to try it with a little sage?
I would. I love how crispy these are. Ah, the tempura batter came out really good, didn't it?
So good.
Okay, so maybe I can
Really
put them
light.
both in my mouth at the same
Ready?
time. Uh-huh,
One,
go.
two, three.
Oh my God.
You can taste everything.
I love it together.
The flour, the batter, the cheese, the herbs.
All of the ingredients that we used here today, you harvested this morning or you made this morning from something you harvested this morning. And so that in itself is just a really beautiful way to connect to your food.
Thank you.
Thank
This was
you.
a lot of fun. Thank you.
Thank you. Amanda Weaver and the Five Fridges Farm, along with Colorado Open Lands, proves to me why it's so important for us to preserve our open spaces for everybody. I'm so excited to introduce you to my friend Brandy Bertram, who's the development director at Colorado Open Lands. And so you might wonder, what is Colorado Open Lands, right? What is it?
Colorado Open Lands is a nonprofit organization that's actually been working in our state since 1981, partnering with landowners all across Colorado to keep the very best, most important places to our quality of life open, working, and productive.
So what are the things that you try to do, say, right here with Five Fridges Farm, and what is important to you and Colorado Open Lands as far as conserving urban agriculture?
You know, when a lot of people think about open land or open space, they think that has to be tens of thousands of acres to be meaningful. But truly, here in the metro communities, especially in Denver, we have a history of agriculture. This town, the western part of this town was built in orchards and farm fields and hay fields, and we have this incredible rich history, and it also really impacts our water. So for us, when we have an opportunity to work with an urban landowner who has acres and water and productive land like Amanda has here, it's critically important that we conserve and preserve that, not only just for today, but when a landowner conserves their property with Colorado Open Lands, it's forever. So the neat thing is that somebody could see our video 100, 200 years from now, and Colorado Open Lands has made the promise to make sure that this particular farm is always productive now and forever.
Well, that's really exciting, and we have a lot of different animals and things going on here at Five Fridges Farm. So maybe you could just give us a quick overview of what's going on in general, how this has evolved, and what your hopes are for the future of Five Fridges Farms.
Certainly. Well, as we know in Colorado, especially today, we may be ranked #1 in a lot of factors around best place to live, #1 place that people are moving. And what that equates to, especially in our metro communities, is land is not cheap. So if you are a young emerging farmer and you're trying to find a place where you can afford to farm, because there's the farm operation, the business of the farm, plus then the land ownership, it's very challenging. Amanda's property serves several important roles in conservation. First of all, it's habitat. It's habitat not just for the critters that are part of the farm, the goats, the chickens, the turkeys, but it's habitat for wildlife who are very much in need of places for the birds to be able to stop during their migratory patterns, for them to be able to rest in the trees. Coyotes, she's got beaver in the creeks, all different kinds of wildlife call this property home. That's important to us, especially in an urban corridor. Amanda's property also, though, does provide accessible opportunity for her partners to farm and to produce local food. The preservation of agriculture and the preservation of important places to grow food is so important to Colorado open lands because it's important to Coloradans. And finally, Amanda, being who she is and the educator that she is, this entire farm is a working classroom, and it's a lab where she brings not only her students, but she brings collaborations like what we have going on today. She brings the entire community in to learn about the importance of land in Colorado, not just the big open land that we like to think about. You go to Rocky Mountain National Park, but these little parcels which still very much exist in Metro Denver and how important they are into the fabric of our history, but also our future. I'll share with you this. Over our history, we've partnered with over 420 different landowners in 43 counties to conserve nearly 500,000 acres of Colorado's most important places. That's bigger than Rocky Mountain National Park. So there are a lot of landowners who are voluntarily saying, we know this land is important to the quality of life for our communities, and we're willing to give up the development value of that property to make sure that it remains so forever. That's a big deal. The majority of the folks join us either as donors or volunteers, and they find us through Colorado Open Lands, plural.org, or they join us at one of our many events.
Thank you so much, Brandy. I sure appreciate your time, and good luck with your bees.
Well, thank you.
I want to introduce you to my friend Josh Orth. Josh, thanks so much for coming on the show today.
Thank you, Claudia, for taking the time to talk to me.
Well, it's an exciting day here at Five Fridges Farm, and if you could just talk a little bit about what you do, what your job title is, and how you balance that work with what we're doing here at Five Fridges Farm.
My role is I'm a landscape architect with Norris Design. We're a landscape architecture and planning company in town. So we've have the opportunity to look at land that's being developed and find innovative solutions for how to treat the ground that we're dealing with. Most of that ground is dealt with is restored to a natural light condition. So my interest in the activities today is to learn a little bit more about how urban agriculture can be introduced into that and how we could create some production value for some of the flora and fauna that we're trying to bring to these environments.
So I have to say, developers aren't exactly known for doing that kind of reinvestment, if you will, into, it's sort of like what's going to give me the most profit. I want a high, fast turnaround, that sort of thing. But you're talking about something that's a little bit longer range, where we have more thought going into the kind of agriculture or landscaping that we do around single family or multifamily developments.
Exactly. Water conservation is a large part or a large driver of what we're doing. We can't afford to sod everything, which is what everybody wants.
Right.
And we have a finite resource of water. So we have to it's a necessity to bring native landscapes into our developments, and it becomes an amenity. So what we're looking at doing with urban agriculture is finding a way to activate those open space areas in a way that's cost effective and provides a unique identity to a community.
Well, that's really exciting. So what are some of the great opportunities you see in the coming years for the work that you're doing and really what your firm is doing overall?
Well, at the simplest level, the seed mixes that we would normally use for just sole purpose is to stabilize soil. With some small tweaking to those, and from what we've learned about invertebrates through the butterfly pavilion staff, is that we can incorporate different kinds of wildflowers into these mixes and come up with a unique look and a unique purpose to that. The other idea that we'd like to see introduced more is production agriculture in master plan communities. Well, I think it's important that we recognize the value that these open space lands have to us, and it's not just what's the most cost-effective treatment to those areas. If we're smart about how we develop our lands, we can create more amenities and more useful amenities. We have a pretty devastating impact on land when we build houses on there or we build a commercial center. But even small pockets in there can create a huge opportunity to bring some of the indigenous flora and fauna back into that environment and do it in a way that it forms a symbiotic relationship with the human occupants of that. So I think we just need to be aware that any opportunity to reintroduce the native idea to our environment is an opportunity that we should embrace, and it's really not expensive to do it. In fact, it's cheaper sometimes.
You are Marianne Coley. You are Vice President of Science and Conservation for the Butterfly Pavilion.
That's right.
Tell me about your job and what you do. Talk about that a little bit. And then really, what is the overall goal and mission of the Butterfly Pavilion? And then how did you get connected with Amanda and Five Fridges Farm?
Yeah. So what I do at Butterfly Pavilion is the best job in the world. I get to work with people who love plants, who love invertebrate animals, and lead the research and conservation work that we do from a Butterfly Pavilion standpoint. And Butterfly Pavilion is the only AZA accredited invertebrate zoo in the world. So really proud of the work that we've been able to accomplish.
And ACA is?
AZA is the Association of Zoos and Aquariums. So really it creates the standard of care and welfare for the animals that we keep.
Oh, okay. Well, that's fascinating. So what are some of the big challenges that our pollinators are facing? We talk a lot about bees, and I understand that bees really provide about 30% of the pollination we need to grow the food that we use to consume and stay alive. But who's doing the rest of the 70% of the pollinating?
So honeybees definitely provide important pollination services, but Colorado alone has 946 species of bees, native bees. So native bees, as well as other pollinators like flies and beetles, even sometimes grasshoppers, birds and bats are all really important pollinators that are necessary to make sure that pollination services really are keeping our habitats healthy.
Wow, that's really fascinating. So we're at Five Fridges Farm today. How did the Butterfly Pavilion build a partnership with Amanda Weaver here at Five Fridges Farm?
That's a great question. So Butterfly Pavilion, our mission is to foster an appreciation for butterflies as well as other invertebrates, while also educating the public about the importance for conservation. And Butterfly Pavilion started an initiative called PACE, which is Pollinator Awareness Through Conservation and Education. And in our work, we were able to, through lots of different individuals, meet Five Fridges Farms and meet Amanda and start talking about what opportunities there are for us to partner. And she really was interested in bees, and so is Butterfly Pavilion, and so we were able to partner together.
So how many local farms or local urban farms do you have this kind of partnership with today?
I would say very few, very few. Butterfly Pavilion and Five Fridges Farms, I do believe, are really setting the course for the type of partnerships that are going to be critical for pollination services and creating healthy habitats.
Oh, well, that's really interesting, actually, because what I think I'm hearing you say is that this community partnership really is setting a model that you can replicate throughout the great state of Colorado.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Okay, so tell me, Marianne, what are we going to do today? Now, I was just visiting with Amanda, and she agreed with me, 33 hives is about 500,000 bees. What's the real number we're looking at here?
Well, there'll be a lot of bees that we're installing today, so installation of 33 hives, but once those hives are set up and running and are healthy, we'll see about 1.5 million plus bees in the Wheat Ridge area providing pollination services from these particular hives. today we're going to be installing the nukes. And so that's basically like a tiny hive. So it's got the queen with a lot of workers. They're all ready to set up for success. Over the season, as they continue to forage and gain pollen and nectar, they will be able to build their colonies. And as they build the number of workers within their colonies, it'll take a full season, then they'll overwinter. So by next spring, we'll see really healthy colonies that have overwintered, and we'll be about, we hope, about 50,000 bees per colony.
Amanda Weaver and the Five Fridges Farm is so engaged in the community. Not only do they do a bee exchange for the butterfly pavilion, Amanda takes her goats to the local parks and lets them take care of the local landscape. Have a look at this. Now that's community engagement. Moving the goats safely through the open pasture and through the water was so much fun. And getting them into the park and having other members of the community enjoy the goats, well, I can just say we had a wonderful day. Thank you so much for spending time with us today. This program was brought to you by the generous support of Virtual Vanguard Productions. If you'd like more information about Cooking in the Dark, visit us at cookinginthedark.today or visit us at rockymountainpbs.org.